Florida land is selling for less than a used Honda Civic. In some counties, you can walk into a clerk's office and walk out owning a piece of the state for $1,500. Not a rental, not a timeshare, actual land with your name on the deed, and nobody's talking about it. Most people know Florida as the place where a starter home costs $400,000 and the wait list for a decent rental stretches 6 months. That's real, that's happening. But there's a parallel Florida that almost nobody sees. Florida full of forgotten lots, goat subdivisions platted 50 years ago that never got built, wetlands and scrubland, and riverside parcels sitting on county lists because nobody wanted them at auction. In this video, we're going through 10 Florida towns where land prices have dropped to a level that genuinely looks like a mistake. For each one, we're breaking down exactly why it's that cheap, what the hidden catches are, and whether you're looking at a real opportunity or a hole you'd be throwing money into. Every one of these prices is cheap for a specific reason, and that reason almost always costs more than the land itself. So if you're planning retirement, looking for a homestead, or just curious whether affordable Florida is still real, pay attention, because the answer is yes. But the details will absolutely change how you look at that listing. Florida is practically giving away land in these 10 towns, here's why. Interlachen. Putnam County sits in the rural heart of north-central Florida, about halfway between Jacksonville and Gainesville. People are buying land there for under $12,000, sometimes under $4,000, and the listings keep coming. The community is called Interlachen Lakes Estates, and it's what land professionals call a ghost subdivision. Decades ago, a developer platted this area into hundreds of residential lots, drew streets on paper, and sold parcels to buyers across the country. Then the infrastructure never came. The streets exist on maps, the lots are legally recorded, but there's no city water, no city sewer, and in large sections, no pavement. You can buy a lot here for $4,000. That is genuinely what it costs. The moment you want to build on that land, you need a private well and a septic system. Drilling a well runs between $3,000 and $9,000. Installing a septic system adds another $4,000 to $12,000 on top of that. Before a single permit is filed, you've potentially spent more on utilities than you paid for the land. Then Putnam County hands you a flat rate impact fee of roughly $7,000. This fee applies to every new single-family home regardless of size. A modest 1,200 square foot retirement home pays the same as a 3,000 square foot custom build. There's no sliding scale, no exemption for modest builds. The fee is the fee. A $4,000 lot becomes a $30,000 project before construction begins. For a retiree planning carefully and building slowly, the math can still work. But it's information that doesn't appear anywhere in the listing, and buyers who don't account for it up front find themselves well past their budget before the foundation is poured. One more thing, if you were thinking about buying the lot and camping on it in an RV while you figure out next steps, Putnam County shut that door. Under a county ordinance from 2021, RVs cannot be used for living, sleeping, or housekeeping on residential land unless you already have an active building permit and an approved septic system. The land plus camper strategy is illegal here without the permits already in hand. Interlachen is a genuine opportunity for the right buyer. The land is real, the zoning allows homes, and manufactured housing is permitted. But the true cost of entry is closer to $35,000 than $4,000. Punta Gorda. On Florida's southwest Gulf Coast, Punta Gorda is mostly known for waterfront homes and retirees who've done well. But in the outer sections of the county, an area called the Charlotte Ranchettes, raw land is selling for prices that don't match the zip code. The reason is a bird. The Florida scrub jay is a federally protected species that lives exclusively in low-growing oak scrub habitat. It doesn't migrate, it doesn't adapt to other environments. It lives in that specific type of sandy, dry, well-drained upland scrub and nowhere else. It's also listed under the Federal Endangered Species Act, which means disturbing its habitat without authorization isn't just a local code issue. It's a federal one. That same sandy, well-drained upland soil is exactly what builders want for foundations. The scrub jay and the home builder are competing for identical terrain. Because Charlotte County sits in the middle of core scrub jay habitat, the county established a habitat conservation plan to manage development in those zones. If your lot falls within the designated Scrub J permit boundary, and in the ranchettes, a lot of them do, you pay a mitigation fee before you build. The fee scales by parcel size. A small lot under a quarter acre runs $2,000. A lot between half an acre and 1 acre runs $10,000. On anything above 5 acres, the fee clears $100,000. Those fees go up every year, indexed to federal housing and construction price data. And even once you've paid, you can't clear vegetation between March 1st and June 30th. That's nesting season, and Charlotte County enforces the blackout. Construction schedules that run into spring, which most do, either pay carrying costs to wait or scramble to finish clearing before March. The calendar is now a budget item. The land in these areas is cheap because the market already priced in the bird. Buyers who factor all of that in are seeing what the price is actually saying. Buyers who don't are discovering it after they've signed. Lehigh Acres. Lehigh Acres is one of the largest speculative subdivisions ever platted in the United States. Mid-20th century developers sold lots by mail to buyers across the country, a massive grid of streets in eastern Lee County near Fort Myers. Many of those lots were sold to people who never visited, never built, and eventually stopped paying taxes. Raw residential lots here still sell for between $13,000 and $39,000. For Lee County, near the Gulf Coast, that's genuinely cheap. When you build a new home in unincorporated Lee County, the county collects fees covering roads, schools, regional parks, community parks, fire protection, and emergency medical services, then adds an administrative surcharge across all of those. The all-in figure for a standard single-family home sits just over $10,000, and that's after the county's discounted collection rate on several categories. A small retirement cottage and a large family home pay the same number. Lee County is also restructuring its permitting fee model, shifting away from flat-rate packages toward itemized per-step billing. Every stage of the building review process is now a separate charge. Every plan deficiency triggers a new resubmission fee. Every failed inspection generates a reinspection penalty. Fees are assessed at the time of each administrative action, not locked in at application. For a builder managing a tight retirement budget, that variability is a real problem. The total permitting cost can't be known until the project is finished. Florida Senate Bill 184 now requires every county to permit at least one accessory dwelling unit per residential lot. Many Lehigh Acres landowners saw that as an income opportunity, build a small rental unit, offset the land cost over time. But even a modest 600 square foot ADU still triggers the full impact fee load in Lee County, plus all the itemized permitting costs. The all-in bill for a small ADU approaches what you paid for the lot itself. Lehigh Acres has real development potential. Lee County is growing and the lots are legitimate residential land. The regulatory overhead is real and it's getting more layered, not simpler. Citrus Springs. Citrus Springs is a large unincorporated master planned community in Citrus County, about 90 minutes north of Tampa. Quiet roads, pine trees, and residential lots that regularly appear for under $10,000. For people looking at retirement homesteads, it reads as promising. Two problems emerge quickly, and they interact in a way that catches buyers off guard. The first is deed restrictions. Citrus Springs was developed under architectural covenants that still apply today. Every lot is designated for a single detached family dwelling. No trailers, no tiny homes, no micro-modular designs. Minimum home sizes vary by platted section but start at 1,000 square feet and climb to 1,800 square feet for lots near the golf course. A cheap lot in Citrus Springs still requires a home large enough to cost real money to build. That gap between land price and required construction cost is where retirement budgets get stressed. The second problem is geometry. Because central water and sewer don't serve most of the affordable sections, builders must install private wells and septic systems. The Southwest Florida Water Management District mandates a minimum 75-foot horizontal separation between any potable well and any septic tank or drain field. That setback protects the aquifer and shrinks the usable footprint of a lot considerably. When you apply that separation requirement alongside the required front setback of 25 feet, side setbacks of 7.5 to 10 feet, and waterfront setbacks of 50 feet where applicable, the space left for a legally compliant layout sometimes doesn't exist on a narrow parcel. Fitting a 1,000 square foot home, a well and a drain field in compliance is sometimes mathematically impossible on the cheaper lots. When the standard layout won't work, builders must import fill dirt and install elevated mound systems or aerobic treatment units. Alternatives that push septic installation costs to $15,000 or $30,000 before a single wall goes up. Citrus County also prohibits any tree removal on vacant lots without an active building permit. The lot stays untouched until permits are issued. For a buyer hoping to prepare the site incrementally over a year or two, that restriction stops the plan before it starts. Verifying that a specific parcel's geometry can accommodate a compliant layout before purchase is not optional. It's the entire homework assignment. Kathleen. Northern Polk County near the city of Lakeland. Tracts of land just over an acre, consistently listed between $4,000 and $10,000. Cash prices. Sometimes owner financed with low monthly payments. Rancho Bonito is the subdivision, it's gated. That's one of the first things listings mention, as if the gate implies a managed, accessible community. Here's what the gate actually opens to: unimproved dirt trails, swamp tracks, and mud bogs built for ATVs and swamp buggies. Not streets, not driveways to future home sites. Recreational off-road paths through wetland terrain. These parcels are zoned RC, Resource Corridor. Under Polk County's land use regulations, that designation means the land is classified as an ecologically significant wetland and upland connector. Residential permitting is denied. The county won't issue a permit for a site-built home, a manufactured home, or any permanent residential structure. The only legal uses are recreational camping, ATV riding, and long-term speculative holding. There is no road access by standard vehicle. The precise location of a given tract often requires GPS coordinates or a hired land surveyor. Annual property taxes run under $15, a figure that reflects exactly what the land can legally do, which is sit there. Some listings for Rancho Bonito parcels state these facts plainly. The language is right there. No road access, non-buildable. Buyers who skim past that to look at the acreage and the price are choosing not to see it. This is the true bottom of the Florida land market, not undervalued, just accurately priced for what it is. If you want a private parcel of Florida wilderness for weekend ATV trips, Rancho Bonito is exactly what it advertises. If a retirement homestead is the goal, this parcel has a 0% development viability rating. And that's not an opinion. It's the zoning record. Bronson. Levy County is one of the more rural counties in north-central Florida. Bronson is its county seat, a small town surrounded by timber, farmland, and genuine quiet. Wooded home sites of around 1¼ acres are listed in the $23,000 to $24,000 range. For someone pricing out retirement land within reach of both Gainesville and the Nature Coast, those numbers look reasonable. Levy County has historically carried a reputation for being welcoming to rural, self-sufficient living. That reputation draws buyers. The regulatory reality has quietly shifted. Under Levy County Code Section 5718, occupying a camper or RV on private vacant land is illegal in almost all circumstances. The county permits only 2 narrow exceptions. An RV may be occupied for a maximum of 7 days per month on a parcel that already contains a permitted permanent home. An owner may also live temporarily in an RV on site during active construction, but only with a valid building permit already issued and in hand. That's the full list of exceptions. 2 scenarios, both requiring existing infrastructure or active permits. The strategy most people use when they buy cheap rural land: purchase the lot, park an RV, live there while clearing brush and saving money toward construction, is a code violation in Levy County from day one. Code enforcement actions and fines are real consequences, not theoretical ones. Before the building permit process even begins in Bronson specifically, there's an added administrative step. Town Ordinance 2601 requires landowners to pay a $50 fee and obtain formal zoning compliance verification from Bronson Town Hall before approaching the county for any structural permit. The compliance check applies to everything: a full home build, a mobile home installation, even a storage shed. Bronson's land is legitimately buildable, and the area has real appeal for retirement buyers who want distance from Florida's crowded coastal markets. The catch is specific and significant. The RV while you build approach is prohibited here from the first day you own the land. Osteen. Southern Volusia County, about 30 minutes west of Daytona Beach. Wooded parcels available under $25,000. Private, heavily treed, far enough from the coast to stay cheap. For buyers who want acreage and seclusion, it reads as a solid deal. Most of these parcels carry a resource corridor designation, the same RC classification found in Polk County, with a different and specifically punishing dimensional requirement. In Volusia County, building a single-family home in an RC zone requires a minimum lot size of 25 acres. The parcels available for under $25,000 in Osteen are typically 10 to 20 acres. They were platted before the county applied RC zoning to the area in April of 1990, which makes them legally classified as substandard lots of record. They exist as legal parcels. They transfer legally. The county simply won't issue a residential building permit on them unless you secure a variance. A variance is a formal exception granted by the county's Planning and Land Development Regulation Commission after a public hearing. To qualify, you need a sealed professional boundary survey, a documented legal history of the parcel, formal notice to adjacent property owners, and a credible argument that applying the zoning code as written creates unnecessary and undue hardship. The commission weighs it seriously, and denial is common. There's an additional complication for buyers who think purchasing multiple adjacent parcels might solve the acreage problem. Under Volusia County Code, 2 or more adjacent substandard lots held under common ownership are legally treated as a single undivided lot. Buying 2 neighboring cheap parcels doesn't create 2 development opportunities. It may create 1 larger non-conforming problem requiring the same variance process. Volusia County also prohibits parking or storing boats, RVs, or utility trailers on any vacant lot that lacks a permitted primary residence. The parcel must sit unused, paying taxes, accruing carrying costs, until either a variance is approved or the lot is sold. The land in Osteen is real woodland in a county with legitimate long-term growth. The 25-acre minimum is a hard regulatory wall, and most affordable parcels currently available don't clear it. Fort McCoy. Marion County, right on the edge of the Ocala National Forest. Wooded lot zoned R4, a manufactured housing designation, available under $9,500. A national forest neighbor at a rural land price, with zoning explicitly designed for affordable housing. It sounds like the combination a retirement buyer looking for a quiet wooded homestead is searching for. Marion County's manufactured home requirements explain why the price is what it is. The county's covenants for R4 zoned land specify that any manufactured home placed on the lot must be brand new. Not recently refurbished, not a well-maintained used unit, never previously titled, never previously occupied. A used double wide in good condition, the kind that sells privately for $30,000 or $40,000, is explicitly prohibited. The home must also be a minimum of 20 feet wide, eliminating all single wide designs. It needs a roof pitch of at least 1 to 4 with a minimum 1 foot overhang. Skirting must be stucco, real block, or simulated brick on all sides. Steps at front and rear must be concrete with handrails. The driveway must be paved. Electrical service must run underground. Collectively, these requirements close most of the cost gap between a manufactured home and a traditional site-built home. The county created a zoning designation for affordable manufactured housing, then regulated manufactured housing toward the price point of the housing type it was intended to replace. For a retiree whose financial plan was built around placing an affordable manufactured unit, that's a fundamental mismatch discovered only after the lot is purchased. Parking or living in an RV on an R4 lot without an active building permit is also prohibited. The forested setting is genuine. The Ocala National Forest adjacency is a real amenity. But the route to an affordable retirement home here runs through a significantly more expensive manufactured unit than most buyers priced into their plans. Cottondale. Jackson County in the Florida Panhandle, about an hour west of Tallahassee. Rural, quiet, well removed from Florida's major coastal markets. Cheap tracts of land starting around $5,000 for quarter-acre lots. For a buyer looking at the Western Panhandle as a retirement destination, the price and the landscape both have appeal. Jackson County runs its land use system differently than most Florida counties. It doesn't use conventional zoning districts with labeled maps. It operates entirely through future land use map designations, drawn from the county's comprehensive plan, with no traditional zoning code to consult. The categories are Conservation, Agricultural 1, Agricultural 2, Residential, and Mixed Use. What each category actually permits for residential development is where buyers run into trouble. Agricultural 1 land, a common designation across Cottondale's rural areas, caps residential density at 1 dwelling unit per 20 acres. A quarter-acre lot in an AG1 zone cannot legally have a home on it. Not because of a permit issue. The density math makes it structurally impossible regardless of what's on the application. Agricultural 2 allows 1 unit per acre. Conservation allows 1 unit per 40 acres. Buyers who purchase several small, cheap tracts in an AG1 area expecting to build 1 home per lot discover during the planning department review that none of those lots individually qualifies for a residence. The lots are real, the deeds are real, the development rights simply aren't there. Beyond density, Jackson County requires a minimum lot size of half an acre for any parcel without access to city water and sewer. Central utilities are largely absent in Cottondale's rural sections. A quarter-acre lot below that threshold cannot support a legal residence under county standards. Before any construction can begin, the county requires a formal residential development order application, which triggers a planning review covering the parcel's physical compatibility, soil suitability, and drainage capacity. The review surfaces constraints that weren't visible in the listing. The absence of a conventional zoning map means there's no shortcut to understanding what you've bought. A comprehensive plan requires professional interpretation, a planner or land use attorney who works in Jackson County to give you a reliable read before you sign anything. Satsuma. Back to Putnam County, this time along the St. Johns River. Satsuma is an unincorporated community with older subdivisions dating to the mid-20th century and raw lots available for under $8,000. The river is a genuine draw, wide, tree-lined, within an hour of Jacksonville and Gainesville. For a retiree who wants water access at lower prices than coastal markets, those lots look like exactly what they're hoping to find. Two constraints compound each other here in a way that leaves some buyers with nothing buildable. The first is the zoning split. In Satsuma's R1 zoning districts, manufactured and mobile homes are prohibited entirely. Only site-built or modular homes qualify. R2 zoning allows manufactured homes. The cheaper lots tend to cluster in the older, historically platted subdivisions, and their specific zoning classification determines everything. A lot in R1 may look like a bargain right up until you price out sites-built construction and realize the economics only worked if a manufactured home was an option. The second constraint is the water. A significant portion of Satsuma's affordable riverfront and near river lots sit within FEMA's 100-year floodplain, designated Flood Zone A. Building in Flood Zone A requires elevated foundation designs and structural specifications set by federal regulations. Those requirements add real cost to any build and cannot be designed around. Here's where the two constraints converge. These are historically platted lots, many recorded before modern setback rules existed. When you apply the required front, rear, and waterfront riparian setbacks to a small mid-century lot in Flood Zone A, the remaining legally buildable footprint can shrink to a size that won't accommodate any structure of the minimum legal dimensions. The lot exists, the buildable area within it does not. There are Satsuma lots that work. People have successfully built there and ended up with a riverside retirement property at a price unrecognizable in coastal Florida. But they all required the same verification process. Confirm the zoning classification, confirm the flood zone designation, and have a surveyor establish the actual buildable envelope before any money changes hands. The difference between a good Satsuma lot and an unbuildable one is measured in paperwork, not appearance. Every town in this video follows the same underlying logic. The price is low because something specific is wrong, and the research reveals what that something is. Ghost subdivisions platted without infrastructure, conservation zones that legally prohibit residential construction, coastal parcels where environmental setbacks reduce the buildable footprint to zero, regulatory frameworks that make the affordable housing option nearly as expensive as the traditional one. None of this is deliberately hidden. The zoning records are public. The impact fee schedules are posted on county websites. The deed restrictions are recorded documents. The floodplain maps are maintained by a federal agency. What's missing for most buyers is the habit of looking before the contract is signed. The geographic split that runs through these 10 towns is worth carrying into any future land search. In rural north-central Florida, Interlachen, Bronson, Fort McCoy, Satsuma, land is cheap because infrastructure was never built and municipal services never arrived. The land itself is often legitimately developable. The cost of preparing it is the catch. In the southwest and along the coast, Punta Gorda, Lehigh Acres, land is suppressed by ecological and regulatory bottlenecks layered on top of otherwise desirable geography. The preparations cost there run deeper and involve more parties. Knowing which type of cheap land you're looking at changes the question you need to ask. In the infrastructure deficit markets, the question is, what does it cost to make this lot functional? In the regulatory bottleneck markets, the question is, does a viable path to development exist at all? Cheap Florida land still exists. The lots are real, the deeds are transferable, and some of them represent genuine value for buyers who do the homework. The question was never whether affordable land existed. The question has always been what the price is actually telling you, and whether you're listening before you sign.